With Andor giving us our first real look at the Imperial Senate in session and the way the Imperial Senate actually works in practicality, I figured today we could take a closer look at some of the biggest differences in the way the Imperial Senate functions versus the Republic Senate. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So, as many of us knew going into Andor, thanks to some of the trailers, the Imperial Senate was going to play a fairly significant role, and this isn't wrong. We see one of the main B-stories of the show, the stuff going on with Mon Mothma, which tends to revolve around the Imperial Senate, since she is an Imperial Senator, taking center stage occasionally. And this has resulted in our first real on-screen look at the Imperial Senate itself. So today we're going to take a closer look at how the Imperial Senate works and the ways it's significantly different from the Republic Senate. Now, a few weeks ago I did discuss a very similar topic, talking about how the Imperial Senate came to be and how its powers changed. So today I really want to focus on exactly how the Imperial Senate, on the floor, works in etiquette and functionality, as opposed to sort of their powers within the government. So to understand how the Imperial Senate is different from the Republic Senate, you have to first understand the Republic Senate. And we can tell a lot about the Republic Senate, obviously from the prequels and from the Clone Wars series, and we know quite a bit about how it worked. First things first, let's talk about voting within the Republic Senate. Senators in the Republic Senate voted anonymously using tablets or holodecks or the screen displays on their sort of Senate seat floating pedestals, if you will. This allowed votes to be basically anonymous from the moment they're cast to when they're counted, and even at the end of the day, you really only had a vague idea where your senators sat on an issue based on their public statements on the topic. However, this doesn't seem to be the case within the Imperial Senate. It seems like they've made a lot more use of those illuminated rims around the Senate seats. You see, a couple weeks ago, I inferred that these seats with their rims not being eliminated were simply vacant, empty signs that the Senate had shrunk in size during the reign of the Empire. And while that's certainly the case, it's also likely that those seats without their rims eliminated have a significantly different meaning. It appears now that senators actually can vote against something by simply turning off the light on their seats, a much more public and open way of showing your lack of support for an idea. On top of that, it seems like this is done as sort of a rude gesture, like, we don't want to hear what you have to say, get off the podium, we don't care what you're talking about. We see this used against Mon Mothma as she discusses several Imperial atrocities. But interestingly, as a result of this very quiet public form of being able to basically reject someone's ideals, things seem to get less heated than they did during the days of the Republic. As we see during the days of the Republic Senate in both the Clone Wars and the prequels, things can get rather intense within the Senate chambers during heated debates. This can break down to shouting and even the entirety of the Senate chamber chanting in favor or in opposition to an idea that was proposed, a much louder and more aggressive form of showing your support or lack of that to an idea. With this new form of sort of withdrawing your approval of something present in the Imperial Senate, we see a much more quiet discourse. As Mon Mothma is presenting her ideas on a piece of legislation that she would like blocked, we see several of the podiums behind her turn off their lights and some murmuring heard amongst the crowd of other senators. And while it is mildly distracting, it's not nearly as intense as the vicious screaming arguments that we saw erupt in several instances within the Republic Senate. And this brings me to the interesting and unusual conclusion that the Imperial Senate seems to have a more professional, for lack of a better word, and respectful demeanor based solely around this system of quiet rejection. It also likely doesn't harm the fact that a lot of those senators were likely placed there instead of elected, as more and more systems shift away from democracies that were present during the Republic to a more imperial authoritarian system like what we see by the time the Senate is dissolved around A New Hope. But while that's how it works within the Senate, there are really significant differences between the Republic Senate and the Imperial Senate beyond the Senate chambers, mostly in their ability to actually affect politics and their role within the government, and that's changed quite a bit from the days of the Galactic Republic. And if you'd like to learn about how the Imperial Senate came to be, why it exists, and what its powers are at this point in time, I'll leave a link up here to a video I have all about that. And I'd like you to let me know down in the comments whether you think this system is actually better than what the Republic had. Do you think it's better to have the system where you can just quietly say, I disapprove of what you're saying, or do you think it makes more sense to have this vocal opposition and this really intense discussion about important political topics? And if you have anything else you'd like to see me cover in Star Wars, leave it down below in the comments. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.